But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Julian Leppert, please.
Right, thank you. Well, it's great to be here among so many old friends from our old party, including even a fellow London Mayoral candidate. So, it's great to see you all. Also, great to be here in sunny Maidstone, here in the Garden of England. A lovely traditional old town. One of the it's the oldest. Maidstone is actually the oldest town in Kent. There's evidence of a population here going back to the Stone Ages. So it's a place that's rich in history and tradition. Also the hometown of Monty Python legend Graham Chapman, believe it or not. So there's a lot to preserve and defend and save about the town of Maidstone, but that's Lawrence's job now, so good luck to him with that. And thanks also to Lawrence for his kind words about my election result. I mean, back in 2019, when I originally got elected in Epping Forest, the Prime Minister was Theresa May, who was spectacularly unpopular, even among Tory voters, if you remember. No one liked Theresa May, did they? Even Tories. She was like David Cameron in a dress, basically. And that completely appalling woman, and she was trying to betray us over the Brexit issue. Sort of overtly and almost very blatantly. There's a picture of Theresa May, campaigning for Remain. I don't know if some of you have seen that picture, and she ended up being our Prime Minister during, at the very height of the Brexit period, which eventually propelled Boris Johnson to 10 Downing Street, because he sort of jumped on the Brexit bandwagon. Whether he believes it or not, he used it to get himself to Downing Street quite successfully. How genuine he was about that, who knows. But that's one parallel. We got rat face, haven't we, in 10 Downing Street now? We've got Rishi Sunak. I mean, I can't imagine that he's that popular amongst Tory voters, because they didn't, like Theresa May, they didn't pick him themselves. Well, Theresa May, I think she was chosen by the party, wasn't she? I'm not sure. But Rishi Sunak, he was literally inflicted on the country, not just on the country, but he was inflicted on his own party. Yeah. The party membership didn't get a vote. The woman beforehand, the one who lasted 44 days, was it? Liz Truss, yeah. The Brian Clough of British politics, if you remember the Leeds United thing in the 70s, if you're old enough to remember that. But whatever you think of Liz Truss, at least she was chosen by her own party. This guy, he wasn't even chosen by the party. He was just inflicted on us by, as Lawrence says, the World Economic Forum, probably. So that's what we've got. And to get rid of him in the general election, you have to vote for Keir Starmer. That's sort of an excuse for a man. What a choice. So other parallels. 2019 versus 2023. You have national issues, you have local issues, or sexy local issues as I call them. We didn't have quite so much of that in 2019, but by 2023 the big sexy local issue, not so much in Wolfham Abbey, we didn't have much going on in Wolfham Abbey, but in Epping Forest in general, there was the Bell Hotel story. That's one of the big issues at the moment. The hotels, our hotels, which are assets for our people, are being turned into asylum hostels at a cost of £70 million a day, apparently. One of those is the Bell Hotel in Epping, which isn't Wolfham Abbey. We could have done it being in Wolfham Abbey, really, because it would have been a better issue for us. But it's only a couple of miles up the road in Epping, which is a beautiful, lovely town in Epping Forest, and they turned it into an asylum centre. So myself and Eddie Butler, we made a YouTube video about that, and it's turned into a big story in itself, because the video went viral, almost broke the internet. The people who run the internet, they were shoveling more coal into the internet just to keep it going, so people could watch our video. It was that popular. And so we pointed out, the cost to the nation and the threats to public safety potentially. And the response, this is before I got elected, and we did it on behalf of For Britain. And the response of the Tory leadership, this is before I got elected, it was, it was after I got elected. We did this video, and they tried to have me arrested. Some of you might notice it anyway. And I got a call from the Harlow police station. They said they wanted me to come in to be interviewed under caution, concerning the YouTube video that we made. And apparently it was the deputy leader of the council, the Tory council, that made the initial complaint. So blimey, But 2 days later, they had a chat about it, and they sort of decided that it was politically motivated and vexatious, and they said, no, don't worry about it, we're not going to bother with it. But so I didn't have to go to prison, and I had a great political issue, because it meant I could be the heroic champion of free speech on the leaflets, sticking up for local people, that won't silence me kind of thing. So we used that. We had a great local issue. And we thought, maybe this would get us over the line. There's another parallel there. back in 2006, which is, you know, the greatest ever year for British nationalism ever, when I got elected in Hainault, we had another hotel just up the road in Ganshill that was being used to house asylum seekers at, you know, like huge cost to taxpayers locally and nationally, and, you know, with a potential threat to local safety as well. So that went on a leaflet. We didn't even canvass in that campaign, just leaflets, and we got elected. But, you know, 2006, well, we had some other help in 2006. So some of you who were in the BNP back then might remember the foreign prisoner scandal. That was, this sort of like this sort of blew up right before the elections in May 2006, where it emerged that something like 1,500 foreign prisoners with no right to be in the country at all have been let out of prison and then unleashed onto the public, you know. And the public were up in arms about that, and that sort of like helped us get elected. One of those foreign prisoners who got released was one of the guys that killed a PC, the lady police constable in Yorkshire, Sharon Besaneski.
Yeah.
Anyone remember that?
Yeah.
The two brothers involved in that, they shouldn't have been in the country in the first place. Yeah. One of them was one of the foreign prisoners who were the Home Secretary, Charles Clarke. When they put the problem on his desk, he was like, oh, don't worry about it, you know, next day. So this poor policewoman got murdered. The other one almost got murdered, and they shouldn't have been in the country in the first place. And he only got caught because the other brother involved in it, he was arrested for a gang rape in Birmingham. So that was the price we paid for the foreign prisoner scandal. The other thing that put wind in our sails in 2006, if you remember, was Margaret Hodge, with her 8 out of 10 people locally voting for the BNP. You know, we could have done with something like that this year, couldn't we, really? So a senior politician saying that everyone was voting for us, but I think they learnt a lesson from that, didn't they? The Margaret Hodge 8 out of 10 thing, so they didn't push us that. Because these things really do help. What else? Yeah, another thing we could have done, we had a great issue. My first election for the Brit Dems, that was in Hainault, in the seat that I'd lost against the Tories 4 years previously. And in Hainault, there's a village hall, or a town, or a little hall like this. It's called Jack's Hall, like Jack's as in the French spelling. And it was like then derelict. And there was a local consortium of local people. They were like getting together, they wanted to put some money together, or get some money from the council, and do it up, you know, refurbish it and make it a community centre for local people, like it used to be, like 20 odd years beforehand. So they got together, and they put their proposals together, took it to the council, and the council told them to get lost. Didn't want to know. The reason they didn't want to know, they didn't want to help local people refurbish this town hall like this for local people, is because they wanted to give it to a local Muslim group. Yeah. This is the Tory council in Redbridge. They wanted to give it to some Muslims to turn it into what they call the community centre, but in reality is what, you know, we know what they really are, don't we? What they call community centres. So now Hainault has got a mosque after they told the local people to go to hell. Because they didn't want to help they didn't want to represent local people, they wanted to represent these other people. So a couple of years later, this was a great issue for us. It should have been in 2014 when I first stood for the Brit Dems. There was a big local meeting with the local politicians, like area committee meetings they called them. And there was about 200 people turned up from Hainault. They were so angry about this, you know, about the local people being rejected in favour of this Muslim group, who wanted to turn the hall into a mosque. You know, the place was packed. And it was a bit like this. The 3 Tory councillors, one, you know, who stopped me getting elected, they were there, and not one of them said a thing about it. You know, when this mosque thing came up, you know, and it was absolutely packed. It was normally about 25 people turned up to these local government meetings, but about 200 people there. They were so angry about this mosque. But the Tories, you know, supposedly representing Hainault now, they couldn't care less. They said didn't say a word between them. Well, 2 turned up, the other one didn't even turn up. The police were there though, but before the meeting, the police says, well, if anyone says anything Islamophobic, you are liable to arrest. Yeah. So surprise, the meeting went forward and they all voted for it. And so local people in Hainault didn't get their village hall turned into a community centre for local people. They got a mosque, which is what you get if you vote for the ironically named Conservative Party, of course, isn't it? So that was a big issue in 2014, but I didn't get it. But UKIP were at their height at the time, so UKIP prevailed. No, they didn't actually. They didn't win. No, Labour took all three seats, and the Tories got kicked out because of the change in demographics. But if you put the UKIP vote together with our vote in 2014, that would have been enough to take one of the seats. So, latest example of that, the bloke out to take that, he was he's just been banned from speaking at some gay pride event, hasn't he? Because he liked something on Twitter. Yeah. He didn't even write it himself. He just liked something on Twitter. So he just said that only women menstruate or something, and he liked it, and he's had to do a grovelling apology. So It's unbelievable.
Humiliated.
Yeah.
Uninvited.
Yeah. Well, what do you expect from celebrities, you know?
Yeah.
You know, even if you like something that's just been a biological fact since the dawn of mankind, you have to apologise for it.
It goes back years.
And the other thing, there's a university somewhere or other. You know, they're trying to do away with the word woman, aren't they? They're like, you know, they even call them, was it menstruators or birthing people? The latest one is some university, and there was a big fuss about it. They had to withdraw it. They call them women. They don't like the word women, so they call them non-men. You know, we've got a few non-men here tonight, so very welcome to you all. So great to see you. Wouldn't want to offend anyone, would I? And so we did try to use that in our propaganda in the Wolfram Abbey campaign, because you'd think that women are more upset about that than men, because men aren't being attacked in quite the same way. We're not having our biological existence questioned in the same way that women are. So you think women will be more upset about that, and the party that campaigns against it would get more votes. But that was the idea anyway. So we should campaign on that. So we did campaign on that a little bit. All this gender madness, and we've got a leader of the Labour Party now who doesn't even know what a woman is. You know, you can't even answer the question about what a woman is. Yeah, but it all comes down to chromosomes at the end of the day, doesn't it? And I've actually written a poem about that, which I'd like to share with you. So Keir Starmer, if you're watching, or anyone else like that, the poem goes like this: girls are XX, boys are XY, and that ain't no lie. So whatever else you might try, if you've got a Y, you'll always be a guy till the day that you die. I'm glad you like my beautiful sonnet there that I composed. It took me 25 years to write that. It's the crowning achievement of my life's work, that poem, so I'm glad you liked it. So we do need to campaign on these women's issues, because they're new women's issues, because this never used to be a problem 10 years ago, did it? So I do think we need to campaign on that. And we need to up our women's vote support for nationalism in general. The other issue we spoke about in Wolfram Abbey is freedom. You know, we need to be the party that promotes freedom, because we know we're fast approaching the age of 15-minute cities, ULEZ, you know, the end of cash, you know, social credit systems. If you look what's going on in China, you know, we could only be a few years away from that now. Now we need to be the people that stand up and resist that. Because if it ever gets as bad as it gets in China, it won't be possible to be any kind of political dissident. Because if you look at China, you know, if you've got the wrong political opinions, you know, your car won't work, or you know, you can't get in the cinema or go shopping. Your credit card won't work. You know, you can't get through a turnstile to get out of your 15-minute city because of something you might have posted on the internet. You know, we're approaching that kind of thing. Yeah. And if Labour get in again, which they may well do, that's the kind of thing that Keir Starmer, you know, is very likely to implement. You know.
That's already happening in America, actually.
Yeah. So I mean, it's almost too horrible to contemplate for some people. They think, oh yeah, we're traditionally a land of freedom and democracy, and I think it's always going to be like that. But you know, it's not always going to be like that unless we fight for it. Yeah. And it's not strong men in power. You have to be, and you know, you have to be frightened of all these things. It's weak men, you know, like Keir Starmer, Justin Trudeau. It's the weak men, you know, the weak little cowards who implement these things because it makes them feel strong. And this is what we could be heading for in Britain under Keir Starmer. So we need to be the party that focuses on this. We did it in Wolfram Abbey, unsuccessfully, but we need to carry on doing it, I think. Another thing in Wolfram Abbey, Lawrence was talking about this, you know, the threats of the Green Belt. 12,000 new homes they've just agreed in Wolfram Abbey. I voted against it in Epping Forest. I voted against it, you know, the district local plan. And they're going to sacrifice 1,457 acres of Green Belt land all around Epping Forest, you know, the ironically named Conservative Party. Part of this is a new Parklands development just down the road from my ward, or my old ward, Paternoster. And people on the doorsteps, they were telling us that the new development in Parklands, it's not confirmed yet, that it's going to go to a housing association, and there's some sort of like a sinister deal going on with Haringey Council involving relocating people from Haringey to Wolfram Abbey.
Like taking them all over again.
Yeah. It's only a rumour at the moment. We've been trying to research this to find out for sure. And there's another councillor told me, he wasn't sure either, but he thinks it might be because they're demolishing the notorious Broadwater Farm estate. and they're going to relocate all the people from Broadwater Farm to this new social housing place in Parklands, Waltham Abbey. So we could have effectively we could have Broadwater Farm moving to Waltham Abbey. That's if it's true.
I sent an email to
Yeah, Paul here is actually researching this, weren't you, Paul?
Epping Forest District Council, to the Planning Committee, which is what I was told to send it to, and I got a reply back within a couple of days. This is we know nothing about this. That's the answer I got back.
Oh. Maybe we'll find out something when it's after the next elections when it's too late because the entire council's up next year. So maybe they'll get themselves safely re-elected, and then maybe the information will start coming out then. Because we all know what happened in Broadwater Farm, don't we? The people responsible for that never got convicted. They may well soon still be living there, and they could be your new neighbours if you live in Waltham Abbey. But we need to change that pretty soon. And the only thing I can say for sure, it's going to require the work ethic. These seats aren't going to fall into our hands. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get lots elected locally. Maybe myself again next year. Maybe later. Who knows? And elsewhere. But it's going to require the work ethic, and it's going to require an attitude of never say die and never give up. So that's the best advice I can give. Thanks a lot. Cheers.